Hi, how's it going? Ben here, great to see you again. Thanks for tuning in. In this video, we're going to be once again talking about teaching English in Thailand. So this video is titled Don't Teach English in Thailand, and we're going to be looking at some of the more negative side of teaching English here in Thailand. Now, I believe that teaching in Thailand has been a massive positive for me. I think it's had a positive effect on my life. There's been a lot of good stuff that has come from it. However, it is not all rosy. There are some drawbacks, there are some downsides, of course. There are downsides to everything in life. Everything has pros and cons. And in this video, we're going to be focusing on the cons. So if you're planning on moving to Thailand and you're thinking or considering teaching English, then maybe this video will be useful to you because there are a lot of videos talking about the pros. I've made a couple myself. Maybe I'll leave a link to one in the top corner of this video. So yeah, you can get a balanced view then. So you can watch this video, get all the cons, and then go and get some of the pros and get a balanced view, because I think that's important. I don't think it's a good idea to only focus on the positives. It's not a good idea to only focus on the negatives as well. So I wanted to balance this sort of mini series of videos I've been making about teaching English in Thailand, and we'll talk about the cons. So here's the video, and the video title once again is Don't Teach English in Thailand. So first up, the first reason why you should not teach English in Thailand is there will be no time to travel. Now this isn't strictly true and it's also probably not the reason why you want to teach English in Thailand. However, there are a lot of people, myself included really, when I first came out here, who will be expecting that, oh yeah, teaching English in Thailand will be great, I'll be able to travel a lot. And then you get here and you find that you can't travel as much as you'd like to. Coming out here to teach English is a full-time job. You will not be able to travel as much as you're probably expecting. That's why it's the first reason why you should not. So don't come out here and start teaching English. Let me explain myself a little bit better. So there are very limited holidays. This is the biggest factor to this negative point in a sense. You'll probably be expecting more holidays than you actually get. Now you do get a lot of holidays. It's not like you don't get any holidays. However, typically they're at the end of the school year. Now this is an issue if you're only planning to come here for 1 year teaching because you won't be getting paid for that summer. You'll probably have your visa cut by the end of the working term as well, so you won't get as many term times holidays as you might be expecting, especially if you come from the UK where you get a few weeks here and there. That doesn't typically happen at a lot of schools out here. Typically you get one big holiday at the end of term 1 in October, which is a great time to go traveling, but maybe your only chance to go traveling because like I said, you don't really get that many holidays midterm, and you might not be able to go traveling at the end of your term unless you're staying on for another year. Then you will have a chance to get a lot of traveling in the long summer break. So it's not necessarily that the holidays are limited. Like I said, if you're staying on for another year, you do get plenty of time in summer. However, midterm you don't really get that much time off. So when we're talking about the holidays, so like I said, you'll be working the first term, and there isn't a big break in the first term at pretty much any school. You'll be working 4 or 5 full months, maybe like half months to begin with, then 4 full months until your break in October. You won't get an extended holiday in that time. You may get, well, you will get the odd bank holiday, the odd public holiday, so you'll probably get the odd long weekend, which you may be able to do a little bit of traveling in, but not extensive. And that is maybe what you're expecting. So you won't be able to travel until your first big holiday in October, and October is the midterm, half-term holiday, halfway through the school year for most schools in Thailand. And you do get plenty of time off in October, to be fair. So this is your big opportunity to really go traveling. You'll probably get 2 or 3 weeks. Usually you'll be like starting probably a week into October, and you'll be coming back towards the end. You may come back in that last week of October, or you may even start in November. That can happen. So yeah, this is probably your only chance if you're going to be teaching for 1 year. Like I said, because if you stay on for that second year, then you probably won't have a chance to travel in Thailand in that break. And we'll get into the reasons why that is in a second. But yeah, just to mention again, the October break is probably your only break if you're planning to come out here and teach for a year. This may be your only opportunity to travel, and you may be expecting a lot more than that. You may be expecting like the holidays to be shorter, but scattered throughout the term. So you might get a week here, a week there, where you can go on different trips. But what seems to happen is the majority of your holidays will be in October, and yeah, you can obviously go traveling then, but it might be a little bit less than what you were expecting. So that big summer break we were talking about is in April. Now you'll probably get all of April off, I would imagine. You would get the full month off. That's pretty standard. April is the summer holiday here. You would finish early in March. You probably finish midway or towards the end of March, and you'll get all of the end of March, all of April off, and probably you'd be looking at going back to school in a week or two into May as well. So you may even get an extra week or two in May before you have to start work again. So like I said, if you work a full year and you get a new contract and you extend to stay on another year, then you will get this massive break in summer. And that obviously is plenty of time to go traveling. However, if you're only going to come out here for 1 year, what might happen is you'll get to this summer holiday, finish teaching, then you'll have to leave Thailand because your visa will be cancelled because you finished working, and you won't really get time to travel with this big break. It'd just be like coming as a tourist anyway. So that's what I mean about your holidays may not be what you're expecting. You may be expecting a lot more time to go traveling than you actually get, especially if you're only working here for a short term. And by short term, I mean a year. So I know it's not really short term, but it is for teaching, I guess. Now, just as a little side note, one of the best times to come to Thailand is in April. If you can put it with the scorching heat, because it is the summer here, so it is scorching in April. It gets very, very hot. But Songkran is in April, so that's the 13th to the 15th. It's a 3-day holiday. It's the traditional New Year for Thailand. It's a Buddhist lunar New Year, I believe. And yeah, it's one of the biggest parties you'll ever see, probably. It's absolutely amazing. I absolutely love Songkran, and the couple of times I've been in Thailand to experience it. But yeah, this is a great time to come to Thailand, and a massive street festival, great big water fight, 3-day holiday, absolutely crazy. Definitely recommend you check that out if you are here in April ever. Just thought I'd throw that in. All right, so yeah, you get limited holidays. Also, weekends just aren't long enough. So yeah, you may be thinking that you'll be able to like run off at the weekend and go somewhere. But yeah, that might not be enough time, especially with the sort of heavy workload, which we'll get into later in this video, of teaching. You probably find your weekends are filled with lesson plans and making stuff for the classroom. You have a ton of stuff to do, obviously, that you may not be thinking about. So like laundry, cleaning the house, just general day-to-day errands, shopping you need to do at the weekend. So you may be thinking, if you've never lived abroad, you may be thinking, oh yeah, the weekends I'll do this, I'll go there. But it might not be as realistic once you get here. You might not find you have enough time at the weekends to travel. So bear that in mind. Also, you will get plenty of national holidays. So the exceptions are like the public holidays that extend those weekends into 3 and sometimes 4-day weekends. So you will get holidays for all these public holidays. So yeah, just out of interest, so you get a public holiday for New Year, the Western New Year. You get New Year's Day and New Year's Eve, and you should get a 3 days holiday then if you are working then, which you may be. Christmas Day is a holiday. Now, if you are working at a school and you're not at a Catholic school, there are a few Catholic schools out here in Thailand, you'll probably only get like 1 or 2 days off for Christmas. So that comes as a lot of surprise. That comes as a big surprise to a lot of foreign teachers. But you may not get an extended holiday at Christmas even. You may get the 1 or 2 days off. But yeah, it's quite common to have to work over Christmas. Luckily, I've actually been working in Christian schools out here, so I do get a week off at Christmas usually, so that's a good time to travel. But yeah, be warned, you may not get an extended holiday at Christmas. However, you probably will get a couple of days holiday and maybe even get a long weekend, so you probably could go somewhere then, but it's probably not what you're expecting. So Songkran Festival, I've highlighted it again. Yeah, that is a great festival. If you can get to Thailand in April, then yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's one of the best festivals I've ever been a part of. It's amazing. So yeah, you'll get a holiday for Songkran, 3 days holiday, public holiday of Songkran. It's Chinese New Year is also on this list, and it is celebrated in Thailand a little bit. However, I've never gotten a holiday from work on Chinese New Year, I don't believe. But yeah, it's made the list. And you can look at the rest of the list. A lot of Thai national holidays, you'll probably get like a day off if that holiday lands in a working week. So yeah, those are the opportunities to potentially go traveling, although they'll only extend your weekend by like 1 or 2 days. And finally, your visa is cancelled when your contract is up. So we did mention that before, that you may not be able to utilize that large summer holiday for traveling, because when you quit a job, typically your work permit and your visa are cancelled and you're given like a few days to leave the country and to change to a different visa if you want to come back. So you'd have to go and leave, go get a tourist visa or whatever and come back. So yeah, you might find that you're in a big rush. You might be expecting to be able to just travel at the end of your school contract in that summer holiday. However, you'll probably find that you have to leave the country actually almost pretty much immediately, because once you quit work, you've been granted a visa to work, then that visa's obviously made redundant. So you need to make arrangements to get a new visa. And that would typically mean traveling to a different country. And if you did want to go back to Thailand, to return as a tourist. Now, you may be surprised that this is my first reason not to teach English in Thailand is the lack of travel time. Obviously, you will be coming here to teach, so you probably wouldn't be expecting to travel too much. However, I do think that as a new teacher, oftentimes you come here kind of with the expectation to work hard and do all that stuff, but you are kind of hoping that you'll be able to get a lot of traveling done. And what I found is I got way less traveling done in my first year, definitely, than I was expecting. So it is a little bit of a shock to a lot of new teachers. It's the lack of time that you get to travel. You may be expecting more. You may be imagining that you'll be able to travel at the weekends and like all those things I've listed. So yeah, if you're coming to Thailand to travel, then get a tourist visa and travel. Teaching English isn't a good route to purely travel. It's a lot of work and it takes up the majority of your time while you're employed. So yeah, don't come here to travel by getting a job as an English teacher. It's not a good idea. So the next reason not to teach English in Thailand is it is kind of a relatively low salary. So yeah, you'll probably be earning as a beginner teacher around $1,000 per month, and that is not a ton of money. So yeah, coming out here and teaching English won't make you rich. It is quite a low payment, especially if you're moving from a Western country. That might be a deciding factor for you. Obviously, the cost of living is much less in Thailand. You can live comfortably on that amount of money that you'll be earning as an English teacher. Usually you can, depending on your circumstances and what you require. But I think for most people, it is definitely livable on a teacher's wage. However, you may be expecting more money. And also it makes like things like traveling back home, if you have to book a flight, flights are still very expensive. And lots of things will be a massive expense that weren't before, because you'll probably be taking a pay cut in terms of dollars, even if you can afford a good standard of life here in Thailand on your salary. So yeah, it is quite a low salary. And even if we come over here to ajan.com, just to get an idea of what the typical salary would be. So this was on their first page of teaching jobs listings that I found today when I looked, and you can see most of them are around 35 to 30,000 Thai baht, which is roughly $1,000 per month. There is one that's a bit more than that. That's in Bangkok, where you would expect to get more because the cost of living is more. But yeah, you're probably going to be looking at making around 30,000 Thai baht per month as a starting teacher. And just to put that into full perspective, so that's roughly, like we said, about $1,000. Even here in Thailand, that is on the lower end. So this is a graph I found on salaryexplorer.com. And I was looking at the average monthly salary for Thailand. And this does seem to place beginner teachers, especially the majority of English teachers, though, to be honest, in the bottom 25% of earners for Thailand. So even though you can definitely live comfortably on that salary, it's quite a low amount in terms of dollars or pounds or euros. And not only that, you are actually in sort of a lower bracket of earners in Thailand as well. So it isn't a job or sort of vocation that's going to make you a ton of money. That just seems to be the reality of it. I will say this, so this chart may be a bit off. I imagine this is probably centered around Bangkok. Like I said, very different in Bangkok. Things are much more expensive. Now, this chart might not be that accurate. There may be a ton of people being left off. And I think that may be because, in Thailand, there's a lot of rural areas, a lot of large rural areas, a lot of farming, a lot of other jobs like that probably aren't being recorded. So yeah, you may be better. Your situation may be better than this. I think it probably is, to be honest. That's just me having a guess though. But yeah, like I said, the fact remains that you're not going to come out here, teach English and get filthy rich. So if that's your expectation, then maybe try and consider something else, because I don't think that's a reality either. You also likely won't be offered benefits, so you're going to probably be earning less than you're expecting, and you may also be lacking in benefits like health insurance. Your school might not offer health insurance. Retirement sort of funds, they're probably not going to offer any pensions. They may not even offer holiday pay. There's a ton that may be missing that you're expecting on your salary. Obviously, there are plenty of schools that do offer those things and do offer benefits. However, this is something else that kind of makes sort of the whole payment package not so great perhaps for you, but maybe it's good enough for you. Obviously, these things are vary from person to person. So yeah, this is just my 2 cents. You probably won't be earning as much as you're expecting. You may be taking a pay cut. And finally, don't come out to teach English in Thailand because it's a very heavy workload. When I first thought of the idea of moving to Thailand and working as an English teacher, I was imagining small classes of very well-behaved students, just a few hours teaching a day, and then I would be running down to the beach in the evenings, getting a cocktail and sitting on the beach. That's not the reality of teaching English in Thailand. Most likely you won't be anywhere near a beach. You'll probably be in a big city. You won't be in a coastal town. There isn't as high a demand for English teachers in those areas. There's not as many schools, and the schools that are there have their pick of any sort of expat or teacher because they're such sought after locations to live in. Chances are you'll be living in a big city, and I do like living in a big city. I'm not knocking that, but chances are you won't be anywhere near a beach. Chances are you'll have way more students in your classes than you were expecting. Chances are that you'll have more classes than you're expecting. Usually you'll be teaching a few classes, not just one. And chances are you'll be working much longer hours per day than you were expecting. So let's go into that a little bit, because maybe you're expecting sort of a light workload and a heavy social life, and you might find the opposite when you get here. So yeah, just to use my current situation as an example, you're going to be working long hours. So this is my current schedule. So most days I start work, I have to be in school at 7:50 and I leave at 4 p.m. So it's a pretty long day, and actually at my previous school I was working more than that. At my previous school I had to sign in at 7:30 and I couldn't leave till 5, so I had a much longer working day there, although I was teaching less hours, but I had to be in school. And at my previous job I had to scan in and scan out with like a fingerprint machine, so it's not like you could sneak out early or anything like that. So it's a pretty long day. And you can even look at my teaching schedule, so you can see I have 5 50-minute classes every day. So yeah, that might be a lot more than you're expecting. Also, I have to do an assembly one morning, usually Tuesday or Friday. Typically, I only have to do one of these per week, but that means an extra 20 minutes roughly in the morning before school, which, as you can see, every day I have 2 first periods are teaching. So on either Tuesday or Friday of most weeks, I have to do a 20-minute assembly. I then have to teach a 2-hour block, so it's pretty heavy workload. And it gets added to with things like assemblies. You may have to do gate duties, you may have to do this and that, you may have to go to sports day, you may have to do a parents' evening, you may have to do like training and all these other things that typically get added to your schedule. So it is a long day. You will be working a lot as an English teacher. Now, on top of the long hours, you may find that you're teaching multiple big classes. All right, so a typical class here in Thailand is probably about 30 students here or there. Maybe you'll get more, maybe you'll get a little bit less, but usually around 30. But in different programs you may find you have 40, you may find you have 50, and in some cases you may even have up to 60 students in one class. So that's a massive amount of students, probably a lot more than you're expecting. Also, you won't be just with one class. Now, pretty much everyone, a lot of teachers out here who are teaching English will have multiple classes, at least 2 or 3, that you've got to go and see each day. Right now I have 3. I used to have a lot more than that. I used to have 5 at my previous job. So you'll probably have a lot more students and a lot more classes than you're expecting. So yeah, bear that in mind. And resources can be limited. Now, you may find that you're expected to cover the costs of things that you weren't expecting to. Sometimes you need to pay for paper. A lot of the materials you'll want to use that aren't at the school, you may have to go and buy yourself. You may have to make a ton of things yourself. I don't really want to talk too much about it, But yeah, this is a reality of teaching here in Thailand, as specifically at a lot of the schools that you'll be working at. They won't be that well equipped. You may find yourself spending a lot more than you were expecting to on sort of material and resources for school. So that's something else that just adds to that burden of the workload, so that you might not be expecting to be so heavy. That does conclude this video. I hope you didn't find it too negative. I don't mean to put anyone off teaching English. I did want to pass on some hard-learned truths though, because I don't think it's a good idea to focus on the positives only. I don't think it's a good idea to focus on the negatives only either. That's why I'll leave a link to that other video I said why you should teach English, which talks about it in a much more positive light. But I did want to focus on some of those negatives, talk about some of those cons, just so they were illuminated to you, and maybe now you know what you're getting yourself in for if you're planning to come out here and start as an English teacher. I will leave links in the description of this video to websites I featured. So we had a look at ajan.com, where I got those teaching jobs from, or I took a screen grab from Ajan, and I also took a screen grab from Worldwide Salaries, I think it was called. So I'll leave a link to that infographic too, so you can read up more on the average monthly salary here in Thailand. If you found this video useful, if you enjoyed watching this video, please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. And subscribe, or consider subscribing if you're planning on moving to Thailand, or if you are living here in Thailand, because I do make videos on this topic quite a bit and I plan to continue to do so. Let me know in the comment sections if you have any questions about teaching English in Thailand. I'll happily answer them if I can, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you then. Goodbye.